As a lifelong fan of the Indiana Jones franchise, it saddens me to say that Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is a film that fails to provide a compelling reason for the return of the iconic character. And frankly, it's disappointing to see the previous send-off given to Indiana Jones in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull undone without a strong justification. Regardless of what you think of Crystal Skull as a whole, and I am one of its defenders, seeing Indy exiting that wedding chapel happily with Marion just felt right. This movie strips that away and plops us into a new adventure with a very unhappy Indiana Jones, and I don't feel like it was ever truly earned. But it happened, so let's talk about it. The plot takes us on a journey spanning 2 time periods, well, 3 I guess, but more on that later. In 1944, during World War II, we see Indiana Jones embark on a mission to retrieve the Lance of Longinus, which pierced the side of Christ himself from the Nazis. Side note, apparently this specific quest for this artifact actually got a 4-comic run in the 90s, but based on the cover art and some of the research I've done, it seemed to feature some very different elements. But anyway, based on other reviews I've read and watched, it seems like I'm not alone in saying that these first 20 minutes of the movie mark the best Indiana Jones sequence this movie has to offer. The impressive de-aging technology is successful in capturing a younger Indiana Jones, and the body double does a great job capturing the movements of early Harrison Ford. There are a few times there are cracks in the VFX, and it's clear that Ford's present, gruff, modern-day voice doesn't quite match the young appearance of his character, but the de-aging never feels off and creepy like Rogue One, for example. But at times, the rest of the VFX overall in this sequence, particularly on top of the train, can make this sequence feel a bit more like a video game than a grounded action set piece featuring our beloved hero. And from the first frame, the lack of Spielberg's direction is certainly felt throughout the entire movie. But look, it's not to say that nothing in this movie is solid. I think Harrison Ford does an amazing job and looks great for being 81 years old leading an action franchise. And I even went to the theater with some people who had never seen an Indiana Jones movie before, and they instantly connected with him and loved him as a character. Now, I have mixed feelings about Helena Shaw as a character. Phoebe Waller-Bridge has unfortunately been the butt of a lot of undue misogynistic internet hate since she was announced, but she's phenomenal in this role and holds her own. The character itself that she's playing, I feel, could have developed a little bit better. The character of Helena is hard to feel empathy for almost all of the movie, even when the movie is desperately asking us to feel for her. The biggest issues with this movie really don't rest on the cast. Mads Mikkelsen is great as always, Harrison Ford is great as expected, but the issue is really just the direction and the story choices made throughout the movie. Most notably, this is an adventure movie, and all of the Indiana Jones movies up to this point have very iconic set pieces that fans know and love. Raiders of the Lost Ark had the giant boulder and the plane fight, and snakes, why'd it have to be snakes? Temple of Doom has that bridge sequence. Last Crusade has so many, including the Zeppelin, or them flying the plane together. Indy meeting Hitler in Berlin. And even Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which a lot of people don't like, again, I'm one of its defenders, has that opening warehouse sequence, which almost everybody says feels the most like Indiana Jones within that film. This movie doesn't have a standout sequence like that. Even in that opening sequence where we get a de-aged Indiana Jones, there's nothing there that stands out as an iconic moment. And in a franchise that is built on iconic moment after iconic moment, that really feels underwhelming. The biggest thing here that is going to divide everybody, and I see that it already is by perusing Twitter, is the end of this movie. I did not have seeing Indiana Jones getting sucked into a swirling time travel portal back in time like Ash Williams in Army of Darkness on my 2023 bingo card. The tagline for Dial of Destiny could literally have been from the 1992 Evil Dead sequel: trapped in time, surrounded by evil, and low on gas. I'm not 100% sure that I like the time travel concept at all, but even if I accept that that's going to happen, which I had by this point in the film, there were a million better ways that it could have played out, or more interesting routes it could have taken. Returning to a past Indy adventure, seeing Indy face the dilemma of letting Hitler die or not, seeing his son alive, there were a lot of paths it could have taken. But instead it opts for something that I think is frankly silly. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, every single Indiana Jones movie has something supernatural in it. My biggest issue with the ending, and I was really wrestling to figure out what I disliked about this ending and what made it feel tonally so different than them opening the Ark of the Covenant and being eviscerated, or Temple of Doom with the heart being ripped out, Last Crusade with the Holy Grail. I think the biggest reason that this sequence stands apart is this Indiana Jones movie is not dealing with the supernatural. It's trying to treat this as if it is grounded in the real world. It just plays as really goofy. I almost wish the device leading to this was something with a supernatural power. Instead, it just feels like a really goofy science fiction take, far goofier than anything in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, in my opinion. Overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would rate Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny about a 4.5. It falls slightly below average for me, and it fails to live up to any of the heights achieved by the previous Indiana Jones outings. Overall, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is the first movie in the franchise that I would hesitate to call a good movie, with underwhelming plot, lackluster action sequences, and a jarring and unsatisfying conclusion.